always available, emulating St. Francis de Sales's accessibility. Today, we reflect on a core dimension of Salesian spirituality, availability. St. Francis de Sales, often called the gentleman saint, was not just wise and holy, he was profoundly accessible. He had the gift of being present, open-hearted, approachable, and deeply interested in each person he met. In a world where hurried schedules and distractions often dominate, his life invites us to rediscover the sacred power of being available. Let us explore what his accessibility looked like, its spiritual foundation, and how we can live it meaningfully today. The first point for our reflection today is, what is accessibility in Salesian terms? Accessibility in this context is not just physical availability or being polite. It is a spiritual posture, a heart open to others, a mind ready to listen, and a life disposed to serve. Some key traits of Salesian accessibility. First of all, time for others. St. Francis de Sales made time for everyone, rich or poor, noble or peasant. He met them with the same attention. Secondly, open heart. His heart was large enough to welcome everyone, including those rejected by others. Thirdly, simple speech. He spoke in simple, pleasant French. He avoided high theology when talking to ordinary people. Fourthly, flexible and responsive. He adjusted his schedule, even his sermons, according to people's needs. Fifthly, no exclusions. Even the outcast and foul-smelling were welcomed by him as children of God. Such accessibility creates space for honest dialogue, real transformation, and spiritual growth. The second point for our reflection today is the spiritual roots of accessibility. First of all, the incarnation, God's availability to us. At the heart of our faith is the incarnation, God becoming one with us in Jesus Christ. This is the ultimate model of accessibility. God didn't stay distant but came close, walked among us, spoke our language, and shared our lives. St. Francis de Sales constantly reminded people to contemplate Jesus, the visible face of the invisible God, accessible to all, especially the humble. Secondly, respecting human dignity. Francis deeply believed that every person reflects God's image. His accessibility was rooted in reverence for the soul in front of him, no matter how broken. Thirdly, holiness for all. He championed the idea that everyone, not just clergy or religious, is called to holiness. That belief made him deeply committed to guiding people in their daily spiritual lives. The third point for our reflection today is making ourselves more available, practical habits. First of all, be willing to be interrupted. In a busy world, it's easy to prioritize schedules over souls. But Francis reminds us, people matter more than plans. Let go of rigid agendas when someone needs your time. Stay open to surprise encounters. They could be divine appointments. Secondly, listen with the heart. Don't just hear words, listen with your whole being. Make others feel heard, not judged. Look into their eyes, don't rush. Affirm their dignity, even in silence. Thirdly, be fully present. When you are with someone, be with them. No distractions, no multitasking. Your undivided presence can be healing in itself. The fourth point for our reflection today is breaking down the barriers to accessibility. First of all, examine our biases. We all carry unconscious judgments, but true accessibility begins when we see Christ in everyone, even those we instinctively avoid. Ask, who do I avoid? Why? And how can I change? Secondly, organize for spontaneity. Availability doesn't mean losing all structure, but it does mean making room for others in your daily rhythm. Leave margin in your schedule. Say yes more often when someone seeks your time. Thirdly, be approachable. St. Francis was gentle in speech, warm in demeanor, and his kindness made him easy to approach. Smile, use kind words, avoid sarcasm and aloofness. The fifth point for reflection today is simple ways to practice accessibility. First of all, be seen. Show up in common places, community events, meals, visits. Secondly, use technology wisely. Stay connected, but don't let digital distractions prevent face to face connection. Thirdly, offer help. Even small acts like carrying a load or listening to someone or someone's grief show you are available. Thirdly, be a guide. Offer encouragement, prayer, or spiritual direction if asked. Fourthly, speak clearly. Avoid theological jargon. Meet people in their language. The sixth point for reflection today is why accessibility matters. First of all, it builds trust. People come to trust those who are consistently available. Trust leads to vulnerability, and that opens the door to grace. Secondly, it helps people grow. When we are present, we help others flourish spiritually, emotionally, even morally. We become channels of God's encouragement. Thirdly, it strengthens community. Accessibility creates a culture of belonging. Walls come down and bonds grow stronger. The seventh point for reflection today is facing the challenges of being available. First of all, healthy boundaries. Francis was generous but not reckless. Even saints need rest. We must know our limits so we don't give out of an empty cup. Learn to say no graciously. Rest, pray, and renew yourself. Secondly, avoiding burnout. Being available can be exhausting. So, balance your giving with receiving. Receive the sacraments, spend time in silence, seek support when needed. Thirdly, stay authentic. Don't make availability a performance, be genuine. Be yourself. People can sense when your care is real, and that's what touches hearts. The eighth point for reflection today is the relevance study, accessibility in a modern world. First of all, in the digital age, we are constantly connected but often lonely. Screens cannot replace presence. St. Francis de Sales' example urges us to offer our time and attention in person. Secondly, in ministry and leadership, those who lead must be accessible. Titles or roles must not become barriers. The shepherd must smell like the sheep, as Pope Francis says. Thirdly, for inclusion and diversity. True accessibility welcomes every race, class, and background. It makes space for all voices. It ensures no one feels unseen. To conclude, a life of radical availability. St. Francis de Sales shows us that holiness lies not in grand gestures but in small daily acts of love and openness. He made time for the poor, listened deeply, spoke simply, and welcomed all. We too can live this way. By choosing to be available, we carry God's presence into homes, offices, streets, and hearts. We can become beacons of compassion, bridges of understanding, and instruments of grace. Let us then commit ourselves to being available not just occasionally but as a lifestyle. May we echo Francis's gentle accessibility and, in doing so, reflect Christ Himself. Live Jesus.